Welcome everyone to round 3 action of the official V8 Supercar Series, brought to you here live on RaceSpot TV in conjunction with iRacing Live. And we're here at Road Atlanta. We've got a long 40-lap race here, a lot of strategy to be played out. I am Jake Blackall. Joining me in the commentary box tonight is Brenton O'Brien. Brenton, welcome to the broadcast. We have got 24 drivers here tonight slogging it out, and it's going to be making for an interesting race around here today at Road Atlanta.
Cheers, Jake. Thanks for having me along again. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting race, isn't it? Fuel save, or to not fuel save, it's right on that limit, isn't it? Early in the week, cars have been pitting and winning, and later on the week, cars have been not pitting and winning. It's all up to the weather. The weather is extremely important for fuel saving tonight.
Yeah, that weather is one of the major factors that will play into this one. It's 35 degrees at the moment while qualifying has started. 24 drivers, and Bo Cubis at the moment I am watching here, number 1 on his door. I hasn't seen him for a while, and I don't think he's seen that number, as well as Benjamin Smith from Evolution Racing Australia. So 2 guys at the moment that haven't seen the official series in a while, and it's just starting to play out. I think a couple of cars will start to come across the line now, as Josh Rogers is the first one to set a competitive lap time. A 1:20.3 puts him in provisional pole. Still a whole lot of cars to start putting in laps, Brenton, and it's just going to make for an interesting field. A lot of strong competitors here, and it could just really start to bunch a lot of people up and change the strategy around for a couple of drivers.
Yeah, well, good to have Bo Cubis back in the series after a second place last night in the V8 Premier Series in the second race, so he's in a bit of form there for SDC. Sam Sutton and Josh Rogers at the moment leading the way for TTL. Cooper Murray, now with ANZ that we know about, has got himself in the third place. But these are really, really early days. And I'll tell you, it's great to have Ben Smith in the field, because this is the type of race that would favour Ben Smith. He's extremely good at saving fuel.
Yeah, no, Ben Smith is very good at saving fuel, and he's just put his car into P3 on the grid at the moment as some of the first laps start to come in. 8 minutes of qualifying. We're about halfway through, 2 laps for each of the drivers. Josh Rogers coming down into the final braking zone of this tight chicane at Road Atlanta. This section is used a lot for other sports, but today it's hosted the V8s, and Josh Rogers getting on the power nicely. Maybe get a better lap time here as he comes around this final dogleg on the back corner. He may be able to get this one. Yes, he does. So he improves by a couple of tenths to a 20.161. So that solidifies at the moment his provisional pole. We've only had 15 cars qualified, a couple of cars outside Ian Ford, Mitchell McLeod, who we may see do a lap very shortly.
Yeah, it's fairly long there. You get 8 minutes for qualifying with times of 1:20. Plenty of time to sit around and wait and not do a lot except for wait for times. So yeah, you're going to see times come in, but that time by Rogers, very competitive early doors of 1:20.161. That's already 0.2 of a second up on his teammate.
Oh yeah, definitely showing that pace. I think it was Ryan O'Sullivan for Evolution Racing Australia as well, just jumped up into P4, and Ben Smith goes onto the outside of the front row with a 1:20.2. So Benjamin Smith nearly pipping Rogers for the pole, but takes Sutton away from him and makes it not make it a TTL front row. He puts the ERA car up there, but that makes it TTL, ERA, TTL and ERA on the top 2 rows. And still waiting for Ian Ford. He could be the one that just plays a little bit of a card, as well as Mitchell McLeod that could just shake the front 4 up. But still a little bit of time left, 2:40, so there's enough time for people to come around and get 2 laps in if they haven't started already. Just watching Ian Ford, he's coming up on the back straight now, so he'll definitely be putting in a competitive time. And it could see him move somewhere up towards the front, but don't know how this lap has been looking for him, and may be able to just squeeze in.
And also Mitch McLeod, I've seen, had issues, so he might struggle to get a time. He might be able to get back in time for the race. But yeah, Ben Smith up there in second, as I said, very, very good at saving fuel. Ford, McLeod, Vlasic and Jason Hyde in the car 21 yet to put times in.
Yeah, so a couple of cars not putting in times. As Ian Ford coming around the final corner right now, should be able to put in a lap time here, and it is. It's pole position at the moment for Ian Ford, a 1:19.849. That is 3/10 quicker than Josh Rogers, and that just solidifies that one up there. I don't know whether anyone else will be able to better that lap time that Ford just put in. And as we know, McLeod is having issues with the car at the moment, is not being able to get out for qualifying, and Vlasic and Hyde haven't put in a lap either. I think Vlasic just crossed the line to maybe start one. He may have enough time, and Hyde as well, unsure as to where he is on the track. So Ian Ford, wow, that's a good lap time. Only one in the 19s at the moment. He's going on for his second lap. may be able to put in a better time here, Brenton, but he really doesn't need to. He can sort of sit on that one and just take it easy.
Geez, knocked that out the ballpark, only 3/10 quicker, faster than Josh Rogers, and Rogers is a known very, very strong qualifier, so it's an exceptional performance by Ian Ford so far. Let's see if he goes quicker. Like I said, Mitch McLeod, Mario Vlasic, Jason Hyde, probably wouldn't realistically expect them to challenge that time, so pole position at the moment looking very handy.
Yes, he's just coming through this final chicane here, getting on the power nice and early at the moment, coming around here. Over that top, coming through the final corner, he should be able to get a better time here. The tyres on the 35-degree track temp look like they improve on the second, and he does. So from a 19.8 to a 19.765, so the pace is with Ian Ford at the moment. That's a lot of pace, and depending on his strategy, it could really play into the hands of Ian Ford here. He could play either strategy. He could fuel save because of the time he's really got over everyone else in quali. He looks like he can sit back a little bit and still have an advantage, or he can just go flat out and pit early, see what happens. It's going to be an interesting way, Brenton, to see how Ford's going to play this one out.
Yeah, it is. That's an exceptional 0.4 of a second quicker than second place. But that's ERA 135, TTL 2 and 4. So there's been some dramas with the two teams over the last couple of weeks, and hoping tonight, hopefully that'll clean up and the race will be fantastic for this next 40 laps.
Yeah, as qualifying is just starting to finish up now. A couple of final cars, not long left, as the race is actually starting to get underway here. So we'll get you to run through the grid, Mr. Brenton O'Brien here for round 3 of V8 Supercars at Road Atlanta.
Yeah, fantastic grid. 24 cars on the grid. Ian Ford pole position, Maverick Welding ERA car 119.765. Josh Rogers we talked about, we saw very capable. He's won the last couple of races. Didn't win last week, but won 2 in a row last season of last year. The last race of last season and the first race this season. So he's in good form. 1 minute 20.161. Ben Smith, welcome back to Ben Smith to the fold in the Demonov Innovations ERA car 20.217. Sammy Sutton in the Hyperstimulator car 123.53. Rhino Sullivan, Auto Loan Centre 120.498. Bo Cubis 120.559. Cooper Murray for ANZ 120.688, sponsored by Simworks. Paul Gorell is changed teams from Community Rural Fencing to SDC in 8th position with a 1 minute 20.956. Dave Baxter for Redback Racing a 121.012, and Fales 1 El Nabi just a 3/1000th of a second behind him. That will round out your top 10. Also, a little bit of a shout out here to Jeff Gauci and Brendan King. Both have had changes over the last few days. Brendan King, where did he go? Angry Birds Racing.
Angry Birds.
A good position there as well.
Yeah, so that's the grid here. A lot of changes in a little bit of a mid-season sort of changing, early season changes into season 2, and it's interesting to see a couple of drivers starting to make the move, but not long now as some of the final cars starting to form up on the grid here. Ian Ford for ERA will lead them into turn 1 on the grid here with Josh Rogers alongside. A little bit of a staggered grid at Road Atlanta, so that'll play into it, but here we go as the revs will start to build. We are green here. Looks like a clean getaway from the front row of the grid. Looks like Rogers just had a better secondary start. So did Ben Smith. Looks like he's also going to be playing a role. Sam Sutton having a look on the inside of Ben Smith, but it looks very clean up the front right now, just forming up as that was Rhino Sullivan, ran a bit wide coming through turn 1 there. Lost a lot of ground. He's fallen in behind Bo Cubis, I think that is, behind Cooper Murray as well. But at the front, they were sort of just single file line astern at the moment, and a couple of cars behind doing the same. So interesting to see. The boys know that this is going to be a strategy race that will play out here, Brenton, and I think that's what they're trying to figure out now, whether the fuel save will go hard.
Yeah, you make up your mind right now, don't you? Do you save, like you said, do you save fuel? Because if you're going to save fuel, back out now. If you're going to commit yourself to having a pit stop, get on it and stay on it. So P1 has already changed. Josh Rogers making that move there into the first right down the end there. So Rogers takes the lead.
Yeah, Rogers got that job done going into turns 6 and 7. Now coming up over the top here and maybe able to have another look with Ian Ford and Smitty having a real defensive run there on Sam Sutton. He may be thinking to do the same thing coming into turns 10, which is 10A and 10B here. Love the American way of trap corner names. Coming over 11 here. And it's just, look at that, Rogers already starting to skip away in the TTL Hyperstimulator Ford Falcon. He's starting to move away. Maybe he's going to play that pitch drop strategy or just trying as, actually that's behind Sam Sutton having a look on Ben Smith. He may be able to get that one done. Smitty holding it strong on the outside. He's got Cooper Murray behind him as well having a look, but it looks like Sutton is going to get that position done. He does, and Smitty falls in behind, but we know that Benjamin Smith is very good on fuel, and he may just be a little bit of a dark horse here towards the end of this one.
I'm not sure it's much of a disadvantage being in second if you're in that draft. However, Rogers, he just has this knack, doesn't he, early laps to get the most out of these cooler tyres, and Smith looks like he might lose another position here to Cooper Murray. Smith's very, very experienced. Looks like he might have held on there. No, he will lose that spot, but patience. It's a patience game here. What you see happening right now might not be happening in 38 laps time.
Yeah, that's right. It's 40 laps around here. It's still a long way to go on fuel and tyres if you're going to try and play the game of staying out. As this three battle here, Cooper Murray and Bo Cubis with Benjamin Smith in front of us. Benjamin Smith on the defence going into turns 10A and B. He's going to hold that one on Cooper Murray. Just playing it safe there. Cooper dropping back behind, but it's sort of bunched the field up. You've now got Bo Cubis really on behind him, as well as Ryan O'Sullivan and Paul Gorell in the new SDC colours. So those pack of five there just really starting to bunch themselves up, but there's no need to really push, as you just want to sit behind them and try and save a little bit of fuel. But who knows what everyone's strategy is, and it's only going to start to play out around that 20 when we'll see some of the early cars start to pit, if they are going to pit. But as Cooper gets a little bit loose there, and he's going to be vulnerable to Bo Cubis as he looks on the inside. Murray's in the grass, they somehow don't hit. Sullivan's behind them, and they all managed to straighten themselves out and get going, but they have lost a lot of time to Benjamin Smith in front of it, and that has definitely hurt them.
Yeah, it looks like there's going to be a few passengers on the Cooper Murray train at the moment. Certainly has dropped off a lot of time there. This kid's pretty quick though. He's just got to find himself a bit of consistency week in, week out. Try and cut those mistakes down. He's only young. He will learn his racecraft. It's great to have him in such a fantastic position. Fifth in the top split on a Monday night is exceptional with that. And his Simworks ANZ team. He's got a very, very experienced Bo Cubis, two-time winner of the official series, Ryan O'Sullivan and Paul Gorell, who we've seen week in, week out, put in some strong performances now with SDC. And Cooper Murray's got these guys behind him. Ryan O'Sullivan really, really edgy through there. And again...
Oh, he's around. Wow, he lost it on the exit curve, and around he went. He's going to drop a lot of positions. He'll be kicking himself over that one. He's dropped a long way down. He's actually moved behind Martin Creamers there in P14, so he'd be down and around P14, P15 as he lost a couple more. He's losing more.
No,
he's into
down to position 8. Ooh, what's happened here?
Yeah, that was Talajanak, and I think that was Mario Vlasic getting involved in each other as Sullivan, the slower car, was there. They were trying to go around him, and they all made contact. There's some damaged cars there as Talajanak's got a lot of rear end damage from that into the inside fence, and yeah, how quickly this thing changes. So Sullivan may have to change his strategy here to counteract that little bit of a mistake. Maybe better for him now to try and stay out and just play the fuel game, but if he didn't from the start, it may hinder him towards the end, because you really need to, Brenton, just start saving fuel from the word go.
Well, as good as Ben Smith is at saving fuel, Ryan O'Sullivan isn't as good as saving fuel, so that's going to have to really, that's going to be serious for him. Not just the fact that he's lost those positions, that could be a complete change in strategy there. He was showing some good speed, as is Josh Rogers at the moment out in the lead. His last lap of 120.196. We're going to learn soon enough whether these guys are on it to stay on it or whether they're going to be backing off. If you're Ian Ford and Sam Sutton right now, what do you do? Is it go time? Do you want to stay with Rogers, maybe get an undercut with new tyres? It could work. Or do you just want to stay, hang tough, lose a bit of time now and then gain it later on?
Yeah, that's one thing we're going to have to watch here, is what the times start to do. I know I had a couple of races where in the cooler weather, you could really stay out longer with the tyres and push it, and the other car could still actually save it in less laps than you'd need to in this hotter weather at the moment. And a couple of races as well have been showing that you need to save from the word go, and in this hotter weather, that's 33 degrees, isn't as hot as we would have been seeing throughout the week, but it's still up in that sort of mid-range where the strategy gets thrown up in the air and you draw it out of a hat and pick one and decide to go with it. So I know a couple of cars may have already decided their strategy, whether that is to pit and go hard, and these three up front may be looking like that's what they're doing, as we've got a replay of the start here. So it was all clean up the front. The secondary part of the start was very good for Josh Rogers, and it was all from there. Sullivan behind also got really loose, but a couple of cars it was all clean up front, and that sort of led to Ian Ford now dropping behind Rogers, and that's it at the moment. Rogers just pulled out another couple of tenths that lap as well, so maybe Ford's starting to push into the save zone and sit behind him.
Yeah, we're 120.6 for Rogers, a 120.9. Looking out for Sam Sutton here, matching that 120.6. There could be the TTL run very, very well as a team. Their teamwork is really good. There could be a thought here in regards to getting these guys out in front and then making sure that they dominate, or which they sorry, I'm looking for Jake, but that they can dictate, there we go, they can dictate the race speed. If you've got two cars out there, something might drop off a tenth or two here or there, and that might cause a bit of confusion ahead of Ian Ford.
Yeah, well, that's right. As soon as you get in front, you can choose your own pace, dictate the pace to how you want the race to run. And at the moment, Rogers is sort of running that at just flat out, and Ford may not know what he's doing, especially with Sutton climbing all over him soon as he starts to gain. He gained a couple of tenths the last lap as well, running about similar to Rogers' pace. So Ford's the one in the middle that's sort of sitting there just trying to figure out what to do. It's just a hard thing to do here. I know for myself, fuel saving around here is very difficult, and it's a lot of things that I have to take into place. So I can only imagine what these guys are doing to try and get this car letting off early, rolling it through some of the corners, and just not on the power as early, saving that little bit of a litre here, a litre there, or tenth of a litre really. It's not really a litre, you can't save that much, but over a lap, the couple of 0.2 of a mil that they can save may help them towards the end, but the pace that you could lose, it may not benefit them. And it's just one of those things where you're going to have to watch it now. And there is a battle right now going on. Car number 19. That
Will
is
Dodd?
Just trying to get it. Will Dodman, yeah, sorry about that. We've just got Will Dodman here and Todd Parks. Oh, Parks, actually, he's in the grass. He's got loose on the S's. He's in the sand trap. Hopefully he can get it out of there, and he does, but that's a big mistake. He's going to lose a lot of ground there and just come back on in front of McLeod, but he's lost some ground there that he wouldn't have wanted.
Yeah, Todd doesn't normally make a lot of mistakes, but the car just got a bit loose there, just hit the edges a little bit too tight there, and the car was caused some major imbalance there, but he's been able to recover. Yeah, he's dropped a few spots down into 14th position now, but fantastic effort so far by these three up front. But I tell you what, they need to be looking over their shoulder. At the moment, they've only got 5.2 seconds on Ben Smith. They're going to need more than that. We're thinking about 31 seconds all up. I think it's about right for a stop to go. Like I've said right from the start, Ben Smith, I'm pretty confident he will be working his way through this field unless the three up front have made that decision that they need to stop. Josh Rogers, Ian Ford, Sam Sutton, all 1 minute 20.6s, so they've got their pace at 2.8 litres a lap they'll need to do to ensure they get to the finish. They'll be burning that already with these lap times. They'll be already into deficit.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. 37 seconds is one of the gap that they have, and by pushing this hard early on, they may not have that towards the end. And one of the things that a lot of people are going to be watching here is who can have the better fuel strategy, especially in the middle part of the race. It's just going to all play out, and we'll have to see how it all unfolds. But at the moment, Rogers still pulling that incredible pace out in front.
Just got to mention, we've got a few cars already in the pits. Adam Zotinga has had early dramas. Michael Talajanak, we saw what happened to him. Dan Ackland, we didn't see what happened to him. And also Greg Sharp in the Demonov Innovations ERA car, also in the pits.
Yeah, so a couple of cars jumping to that strategy early on or had some incidents as well. So a couple of those cars are unfortunate of that, but just coming back into this now and see what happens there. We've got a battle going on for car number 10 at the moment, Brenton.
Yeah, Matty Jones is again has changed teams, and he's got Mitch McLeod, and there's drama here straight away. So we actually saw that. That's actually under the bridge. Just got to catch where that's ended up for Matt Jones. This is his debut race for SDC. I'm just going to check back a replay there, because as they go under the bridge, I think. Oh, it's just a racing incident between McLeod and Jones, and that's tagged them into the side of Ryan O'Sullivan. But certainly Matt Jones's day, I would think, is done. Mitch McLeod is certainly done as well. So the car just gets a bit light as they go up that hill, and Mitch just lost a bit of traction on the exit there, and that's put him into the side of Matty Jones. So not the greatest start for Matt Jones and his new SDC team.
No, yeah, and he's had to actually retire from the race as well as Mitchell McLeod. So those two, that was unfortunate, as well as Ryan O'Sullivan in the pits. So just getting loose on turn 11, it can happen here. It's happened to a lot of people, and just that little bit of the crest, it gets the car unsettled. The rear wants to slide out, and if you can't hold it, it all goes to crap like we just seen there. And it's unfortunate to see those guys. Matt Jones wouldn't have wanted that to start out for his debut race for SDC, but he will surely be able to push on and get some better results with the team he is under. But just having a look now at a couple of these battles sort of dropping away, there's a big gap between Sam Sutton and Benjamin Smith, depending on the pace that everyone's running for fuel save. But
no, that's not a big gap. Don't forget Sam Sutton he races the V8. That's his car. He dabbles in the GT3 now and then. To be honest with you, the early indication is he's going to make a bigger charge with the GT3, hopefully for his and the team's sake. He can hook up with Josh Rogers and maybe hopefully someone else and try and get themselves organised to qualify for the BS Pro Series in 2017. But for now, Sammy Sutton loves his V8s. There's a lot of V8 driving. Ben Smith, not a through and through V8 driver, loves his GT3s and Skip Barbers and Formula Renaults. But he's got such good racecraft. He's only 7 seconds off the race lead at the moment. This is on the end of lap 10. And we're all saying that we believe that Ben Smith will make the finish.
Yeah, that's right. And he's one of those guys that we could sort of put a money on right now that he will make the finish on no stop. Just depending on what these guys does in front of him, depends on where he's going to finish. But the field has sort of definitely started to spread out as times start to fall away a little bit. A 20.8 from Josh Rogers in front to Ian Ford. That was a 20.9 on my board. So yeah, 20.9 from Ian Ford, and then a 20.4 from Sam Sutton. So Sutton was half a second quicker than both his teammate and Ian Ford. So he's pushing on right now, trying to make up that ground to Ian Ford, may be able to have a little bit of a charge, and like you said, get around Ford and start to dictate his own pace.
No, I reckon there's a bit of strategy here because Sutton was half a second off them at 20.9 last lap. Let's have a look at Josh Rogers' time. 20.1, 20.5, 6, 4, 6, 6, 5, 8. So is he pulling back now? Is he looking at his numbers going, I'm not going to make it at this speed? Are we seeing Josh Rogers now putting the tactical brain on, thinking, yep, I don't want to stop here. I want to be able to keep going, no stops, because the biggest danger in this race, and I'll keep saying it, is Benjamin Smith.
Yeah, for sure. Benjamin Smith's definitely this dark horse, and he's just floating around at the moment in P4. He's 7 seconds down, but again, he was still running the same pace as the leader, so he is now sort of just running that pace. He knows he can save this fuel, and behind him as well, Cooper Murray starting to fall away from him, as well as Bo Cubis. So you can tell those two are definitely trying to save their fuel and just pushing that little bit, not as hard. You can hear as well, just hearing Bo Cubis going down into turns 10A and 10B down into that chicane, and he was definitely rolling out early. So Cubis is definitely in this fuel save game at the moment, but there's just nothing between these guys. It's so hard to pick. We need team radios and communications right now so we can figure out what everyone's saying. But at the moment, again, Rogers 21.1 to Ian Ford 20.8 and Sam Sutton 20.92. So those two starting to close in on Rogers, and maybe, like you were saying, Rogers has started to figure out and he was pushing too hard and needs to start to tone it down. He's going to bring this three bunch together again.
21.1's a no-stopper. He's dropped off a second from his best time. He's dropped off 3/10 of his last time. His last time was pretty slow. Expect this to bunch up. Thinking that Ian Ford might have been saving fuel right from the go. He showed an ability to save fuel very well. I think it was at Zolder last season where him and Ethan Grigol were able to clear the field with their fuel saving strategy. So there's a lot of this race to go, and it's going to be some great viewing for lap 12 or lap 40.
Yeah, we're only on lap 12 of 40, and that's right, the viewing will get better. These cars need to start to figure out what they're going to do. It's going to be, I'd like to see who is going to bite the bullet sort of at that mid-range sort of stage and say, you know what, I'm not going to make it. Let's put some fuel and tyres on this thing and start to come back to the field, because by the end of it, some of these guys will be really struggling with fuel strategy and making sure that they can make it, as well as tyres. The tyres aren't just going to be as good as they were from the start and stay out throughout the race. So tyre management is still a key to trying to get this strategy to work. You can't be blasting the tyres, which you won't be when you're saving fuel, but if you burn them up a little bit too much, you could fall away towards the end. But as I say, that Rogers again, he's just put in a 20.7, so this strategy is so unpredictable. Yes, it's not as fast, but he's just went another half a second quicker. So I don't know, it's just one of those things where we know they were good. I think it was Spa, they came in a lap earlier than we all thought, and they still made it towards the end. And whether TTL are playing that strategy again of being the most conservative on the fuel and still managed to punch out lap times, we don't know. But at the moment, he's still definitely just holding on to that P1.
Very good at this fuel saving, but their times are just all over the shop. The good thing about the good drivers is that they can run fast times consistently. 20.5, 20.8, 21.1, 20.7. That's all over the shop. That's the all sorts right there. I think at the moment, I still firmly believe that Josh is thinking of fuel saving. A 21.2 convinces me right now that Josh Rogers is trying to fuel save to get to the finish on a no-stopper.
Yeah, definitely on that numbers, he's definitely trying to save. But then, all the time chopping and changing, going faster, going slower, he needs to sort of sort out a time that he's doing, because the two behind him just punched out 20.7. So most of these two behind are sort of chopping and changing as well. We think that they're all fuel saving, but just the changing of the times, it's like here and there, they may be picking up a little bit more time. And if you get on that power a little bit faster and a little bit quicker than what you would have the lap before, you just chew that little bit more fuel, and that takes it out of your range that you want to sort of look, and your number that you're pushing towards. We think the number's around 2.8 litres per lap, and on a flat out lap you'll be pushing about 3 litres. So to save 0.2 a lap is a lot to save, and around here it's not as easy as it looks. There's a couple of runoffs that you can sort of just roll it down, especially down here coming into turns 10A and turn B. You can just let it roll out. As I just heard then, Ian Ford was hard on the clutch, so he is definitely fuel saving right there. And would like to hear maybe a couple of laps of these other guys and see what they're doing on board.
Well, Josh has got his normal shadow, Mr. Maloney, spotting for him tonight. So Jake Maloney's, he'll be looking at the fuel numbers, and that's what teamwork's all about. So Jake will be reading out those numbers, trying to get him to run to those numbers. And they'll be madly on their calculator working out who's doing what, where, how, when. And with a 20.8 last lap, 20.7 and 20.6 for Ford and Sutton, it's fuel saving mode already.
Yeah, it's fuel saving mode. As Benjamin Smith ran a 20.9 down in P4. We can't forget him. He is definitely this guy that's just going to be sitting there floating, especially when these guys start to run out of fuel. I think he's just going to be that one that will show up when they were unexpecting it. But a couple of guys behind are starting to drop off. 21.5 from Murray, 21.3 from Cubis. So these guys starting to fall away into the 21s, which shows that they're all trying to make it. No one is really trying to push the envelope and try and do the pit stop, which has worked. Like you were saying at the start of the broadcast, a couple of guys this week have done it. They've pitted and won. A couple of guys have fuel saved and won. So it's just that toss up in the air and pick. But at the moment, it looks like no one's going the alternate card, and everyone looks like they're fuel saving.
Last time I looked at Ben Smith, he was 9.5 seconds behind. He's now less than 8 seconds behind. Just those consistent laps, he's just going to knock out. Like every lap that he does is an extra lap he's done on this track. He's done absolutely no practice on this track whatsoever this week. He will just punch out consistent laps. Let his brain do the talking and let his brain do the driving here as well. Also looks like we've got something going on with young Cooper Murray as well.
Yeah, it looked like he just made a mistake there coming out into 10A and 10B, the chicane coming after the long back straight. just lost the rear and he had to give up the position to Bo Cubis, so he is now dropped behind Cubis, and you won't like that. He'll be kicking himself over that little mistake, trying to save fuel a bit late on the clutch, I think he was, and it just locked up the rears, got them loose, and he's now fallen behind Cubis. That's the position he'll have to try and work at to get it, and by working at it to get it back, he'll use fuel, so Cubis will just be wanting to dictate his own pace in front of Murray, and if Murray wants to go around him, he'll be all for it, because if he does it, he'll maybe use a bit more fuel than what he'll be needing.
Yeah, exactly right. Bo Cubis showing a lot of experience, probably off pace at the moment though. He's, where is Bo at? Yeah, we're talking over 13 seconds behind here. Again, probably hasn't done a lot of running here this week, did a bit of practice for Sonoma yesterday. Just having a look at some of the issues here. Just Josh Rogers at 21-0. It's just such a fascinating race. It's like a game of chess, this, isn't it? It's fast-moving chess. 20.6 for Rogers last lap. Where did he knock that out from? So all of a sudden he might have his field numbers right. He might have saved enough, and away he goes.
Yeah, well, that's right, and a 20.7 as well from Sam Sutton, his teammate. So they keep doing this. They keep chopping and changing from 21s to like mid-20s, and it just puts us all up. And Ford in the middle did a 20.8. I think he's actually been the most consistent of the bunch. Looking at his past couple laps time, it was a 20.7 and 20.7, 20.9, and 20.8 was his last 4 laps. So it looks like he's starting to be a bit more consistent with his fuel numbers, and the couple around him are just pushing this lap and then slowing up the next lap. It's just, that may not be able to give him enough fuel to get him home, because it's not just a matter of running to that number 1 lap then pushing the next lap, because you're burning that little bit of fuel. You need to run the numbers, but we're Sean Maloney and them in the, I'd say Richard Hampstead may be in there as well. They'll definitely be in there telling them all the numbers that they will need, and they will certainly have it covered. But it's just interesting to watch. It's how they're sort of playing their times at the moment.
Yeah, the field very well spread out. We've got a little bit of a battle here. Will Dodd, who we saw before, joined the Fusion Motorsports a few weeks ago, and recovering Todd Parks. We saw the mistake that Todd made as well. So this is a battle for 10th and 11th. Todd's certainly looking like a bit racy at the moment. Yeah, these guys down here, they might be on it just thinking, nah, we're not going to make it. Let's just make some positions. Try and get that bit of a game before. It's only a quick pit stop. It's the pit lane that just takes forever. So, Todd, I'm thinking, probably won't make it on fuel. Certainly making mistakes and getting off track like he did, burns unnecessarily fuel. So be interested to see how the car 13 goes.
Yeah, that's right. Coming in the pits, it's not long. It's only about, if you want to take tyres, which is what a lot of people do, it's only about 9 seconds. So 37 seconds all up, you're only doing 9 seconds for a pit stop. It's just that long pit lane. That's what kills it and makes it that 37 seconds. And you lose a lot of time there. And if you're doing that, you need to be committed to it. And at the moment, I don't know, they could be doing it, but just to try and gain a little bit of ground on these guys in front, because they will come back to them when they pit, but 37 seconds is a long time, a lot of time to make up. But yeah, Will Dodd getting arrested just in front of him. Matt Jones is a lap down behind Jeff Gortsey, so I'd say Gortsey will let him by as well. So just a couple of cars all being spread out at the moment, but Sam Sutton, Ian Ford, Rogers up front, they're all just running these weird and wacky lap times, but Rogers just eking out a couple of tenths here and there. But again, he just ran a 21.0 to Ford's 20.89. So again, he just drops back into the 21s, lowers that pace, and just a little bit more fuel saving that lap.
Looking at Bo Cubis here, his lap 17 was his fastest lap at 21.108. His times have been super consistent all the way through. He is definitely driving to a number. This is the car number 1 in 5th place, twice champion of the V8 official series. So he knows what he's doing. Probably a little bit back of where he needs to be, 14.7 seconds near enough at the moment off the lead. But expect that time just to crawl down every now and then.
Yeah, I think he will be also another dark horse as well as Benjamin Smith, but he is a bit far behind at the moment. But he'll make that up. Yeah, he's 2-time champion, so he knows what he's doing with this car. He definitely had a good, strong weekend at V8 Scops this past weekend that just went at Sonoma, coming second in race 2 last weekend. So he definitely has the pace, and if he can just keep it up this nice consistently pace, he can maybe make it without having to push as hard as these other guys, especially towards the end. These guys will be really, well, not really push, it's more like fuel save. It's going in the opposite direction and saving more than what you should have been doing the entire race, and you lose that pace that you were running. But again, up front, they're just running those similar pace laps again, and Ford was the quickest out of the bunch, but the battle here is going on between Todd Parks and Will Dodd again as they're coming down this back straight, coming through turn 9, which is the little kink. He may have a look here, Parks, or not. He's just going to sit behind Will Dodd coming into turns 10A and 10B.
Looks like Parks is carrying a little bit of damage, doesn't it, to the front right? That's certainly going to affect his straight line speed, and I don't reckon these guys are holding back with fuel saving. I think they're it's race on now, and they want to make as much ground whilst they can now. Like I said, about 31 seconds I think was the pit stop time. It is lengthy, considering they only need probably 8 to 10 litres of fuel. So it is a fair amount of fuel saving that these guys have got to do, but this is a great little race going on. We've had a few casualties early on, so battles are thin and thinner at the moment, has to be said. But for 10th and 11th, good going here.
Yeah, it looks like they're definitely going all at it at the moment. And Park's just sitting in behind. You don't want to make a move through these S's. Turns 2, 3, 4, and 5 going down now into turn 6. This little bit of a back straight here that they've got. And he had a look, just thought better of it, dropped in behind him. It's not really a major passing opportunity as they come through turn 7, as there's actually 2 corners on this long back straight at Road Atlanta. So coming down here, he's going to be in the draft. You'll want to fill up those mirrors of Will Dodd, get the best run he can. A little bit of damage won't help with the front straight line speed of the Eaton Synergy Commodore, and he may have a look. He thought look to the inside of turn 9, but it wasn't going to happen, and he's just going to have to sit behind. He lost a lot of time there, but definitely all over the back of Will Dodd now.
Well, these boys are taking the mickey at the front. Josh Rogers' last lap time, lap 20, a 1 minute 21.5. 1:21.5. That's 1.4 seconds off of his fastest time, sure, on newer tyres. These guys are now locked in and committed to not doing any stops. So a 21.5 for Rogers, 21.1, and a 20.6 for Sammy Sutton, 21.3 for Ben Smith. So this is going to continue to close up, but I think their cards have been shown really early here. There's no one stopping. They're going to be getting on all the way to the finish.
Yeah, and I just seen Sam Sutton coming onto the back straight, going through turn 7, a little bit of a brake lock there. So locked, I think it was the left front tyre going into turn 8. That'll be there for the rest of the race as he's just starting. He was the quickest one again out of the top 3, and if he keeps doing this, he may be able to have a look on it in Ford soon, but it's just that little bit of fuel he won't be able to use. But like you're saying, yeah, definitely the Mickey's on. They don't know what they're doing again. 21.0, so half seconds quicker from Rogers this time by. It's one of those games. They're definitely connected to this fuel strategy and are going to be running it all the way to the end, but who knows who's on what numbers and who's got what left in the tank and who's where in their strategy, because who knows, it's sort of all up in the air, and it's going to close up between these 3, and it won't be surprised if a couple of others start to play depending on how battled these guys get.
Love these fuel saving races. Last good one was at Zolder. We saw the action there where cars were running out of petrol on the last lap. Don't be surprised if we see the same thing tonight. This is all strategy. This is racing by the numbers. They're going as quick as they can, restricted to what they have. That's why this racing is just fantastic. Yeah, you get your sprint races, and you get your races that just go hell for leather from start to finish. This is a thinking race right here. Not only going fast, but making sure that you can be disciplined.
Yeah, I think we've just had Paul Garrell has come in the pit. So I think Garrell, you pitted from P7, so Garrell was committed to coming in. So watch Garrell now. He will have fresher tyres. He was 25 seconds away from the lead, so he wasn't as far up as he would have liked. But Garrell is now, I'd say, he's down in around about P13 at the moment, and may just be able to start to move his way back inside the top 10.
Showed his hand, didn't he? And to be honest, he's probably been disappointed with that pace, considering that the guys at the back are fuel saving. So Sammy Sutton in the meantime looks like he's made a bit of a mistake, and certainly just a little mistake, dropped off a little bit. What it's done though is taken him out of the draft, and does he need to burn fuel to get back onto the back of Ian Ford?
Yeah, he made a big mistake locking the brakes going into turns 10A and B, the chicane coming after the back straight. Lost a lot of ground, had to cut the chicane, and would have just not like that at all. Lost a lot of time, and Murray as well. So Murray is in the pits. So Cooper Murray, he was in P6 at the time, and he was with Bo Cubis at the early parts of the stage as well. Someone else in the background, I think that was Todd Parks, has come in as well. So a couple of guys now starting to realise that they're not going to make it and going to take this a little bit of fuel. They're going to take 4 tyres as well and try and move their way back up through the field.
In the meantime, Ian Ford is right on the back of Josh Rogers. He is in fuel-saving mode right now. We'll just jump on board with the car number 3 ERA car as they go down here into 10A, 10B and gets out of that pretty early. So the fuel saving is very real. And he's going to be extremely comfortable right now sitting behind the Falcon of Josh Rogers. And I wouldn't be surprised right now if Rogers backs off even more. He's going to try and get his teammate back into this. A 21 flat for Ford there and a 21-2. Rogers made that little bit of a mistake. Just it looked like he just missed the apex a little bit. Certainly not going to cost him too much time. But let's see how much fuel that Sam Sutton needs to use to get back up to these two.
Yeah, that's right. He's going to be using a lot of fuel to try and catch back up. But also, again, behind Benjamin Smith running a 21.0. So he was running an identical pace to the leaders. So he's definitely knows what he's got going on in that Demidov Innovations Commodore for ERA. He's going to be the one that's just going to sit there. But once again, it looks like Ian Ford's gaining a bit of ground on Rogers. So Rogers maybe burned a little bit too much in those early stages trying to get around Ian Ford and then started to pull away. But now that dictating of the race, he hasn't done as well as he may have liked, and he's starting to come back to Ford here. He's been running pretty conservative pace throughout, and he may have a bit more fuel in the tank as it stands right now.
It's just liquid gold, isn't it? And that's what you need right now. You need that little bit of extra gold, and any leader that you've got in the tank is going to majorly come into play later on. I think Rogers now needs to try and just get on it, give it a few good hard laps to get the fuel numbers for a while. Needs to break that draft because Ford looked extremely comfortable sitting in that draft, and I think he's actually done that, just that lap of 21.2 for Ford or a 21 flat for Josh Rogers. So, you know, the car at the front can dictate his own fuel numbers. Maybe Rogers has been saving fuel, but that's a big load of empty air in front of that Ford car right now.
Yeah, that's right, and Ford will be sitting in there behind him, just using that draft down that back straight to roll out a little bit earlier, and that little bit earlier could be, who knows, half a litre to a litre at the moment, and that half a litre to a litre could get him over the line or give him a couple of laps extra towards the end that he can push at full tilt. If he can push full tilt before Josh Rogers, he may be able to get around him and move on. I know at Zolder when we last had a race like this, it was all the way to the end, you weren't going to make it, and you sort of really had to just hold out before you could push it for sort of like the last half of the lap. If you knew you were going to make it, you could push, and this could be maybe 1 or 2 laps extra if you try and save that little bit more, and Ford may be able to do that with the draft of Josh Rogers, and he's still in it. He's not out of that draft. He's only was 9/10 away at the line, and that's still definite comfortable fuel saving range with the draft, and if he can keep it up, he may be able to get a couple more laps and then start to have an attack. It's lap 25 now. They'll come across the line to start lap 26 of 40, and starting to get towards the end, and we'll see who starts to play out. But a 20.7 from Ian Ford. Sam Sutton behind him pits. So Sam Sutton in the pits, he is fallen to the wayside of the fuel game, and he's going to come in and get some 4 fresh tyres and come back out now. He will be one to watch.
Really interesting there by Sammy Sutton, I must say. I would have thought out of those top 3 that he would have been in the most comfortable position to save fuel. So where does that tell us about Josh Rogers? Josh Rogers went real hard those first 3 or 4 laps, made that position, and you know, the times have dropped off. The fact that Sutton's pitted, you know, a lot of experience inside that car, he wouldn't have pitted unless he thought it was absolutely necessary. But that's the first one of the top 4 to fall by the wayside in regards to pitting. He might come back hard later on and make that ground, lap 26 now. So we're in lap 26 or 40. He's going to have to make up a lot of ground quickly. Let's see where Josh Rogers is at now.
Yeah, it sort of opens it up. Who's good on fuel now? With Sam Sutton pitting, he was up front and looked like he was saving. He may have had to push a little bit harder, and maybe because of that mistake, he thought this is the only way I'm going to make the ground back up. Yes, he's losing it now, but he'll have the 4 fresh boots and will be able to get a move on. And let's see what happens this time by. So Rogers stays out and Ian Ford stays out. I think these two will be definitely committed. It's lap 27 now they're starting, so you won't have enough laps. I think lap 25, lap 26 was sort of the last you could stop and think, you know what, I have enough time to be able to make up the ground. But still a long way back Sam Sutton is, that he may not be able to get this one done, but that elevates Benjamin Smith right now onto the podium and Bo Cubis into P4, and just a quiet achiever of David Baxter right now sitting in P5 when he comes across the line.
Yeah, Redback Racing car there of Dave Baxter. New skin tonight too. I've noticed they've finally got rid of the spider web there and secure safe storage. Great to have them on board for the car 11. So awesome to have new sponsors there. Bo Cubis has not knocked himself out of the 1 minute 21s the entire race. Super consistent. And this is a guy, like we said, we've said it a couple of times, 2-time winner. He knows what he's doing. Probably a bit off at the moment though. He's 20 seconds behind. He's probably actually going to be looking over his shoulder a little bit. He's only 13 seconds in front of Sam Sutton.
Yeah, as here it is, the battle for the lead. We've got Josh Rogers and Ian Ford. Ian Ford down on the inside, coming into turns 10A. Rogers gives in the room, but he's going to hold it tough on the outside, coming into turn 10B. He's going to hold that position, but Ford gained a lot of time that lap. And Rogers in. Rogers pits, so Rogers has fallen to the wayside of the fuel game as well. What does that do for 40? 40's now in front all by himself. He doesn't have that draft to help him. Could this be where Ford goes, you know what, I'm just going to come in and follow suit? But then that gives Benjamin Smith the lead, who we know he's just dynamite on the fuel and he's been running consistent for this entire race. Watch him now. We could see if Ford pits, Benjamin Smith could be in the right position to take this at the moment.
Smithy won't need to pit. Rogers shortstop is exiting the pits now. Let's see where he comes out. He should come out pretty much with his teammate Sam Sutton now into turn 1. So Rogers again, probably a couple of seconds gain there on Sam Sutton, but it's really red light now, green light now, because these guys will be on it. Sammy Sutton makes the mistake into the first of the S's there on the entry of turn 2, so there'll be a short slowdown. So just a few things just not going so well for the Hyper Simulator car of Sam Sutton, the car number 4 at the moment, but still plenty of time to fight back. They've got Bo Cubis and Ben Smith in front of them, so they've still got a bit of work to do if they get to Ian Ford.
Yeah, I just had to have a look then. I think he definitely took tyres there, Josh Rogers, so
yeah.
Just had to think, he was looked like it was a bit quicker because he gained a lot of time on Sam Sutton, but a couple of mistakes here from Sutton hasn't helped him at all. But Rogers definitely took tyres and he will definitely be up there towards the end. And Ford still staying out. He ran a 21.5, so here we go. Ford definitely starting to drop that pace a little bit and maybe save a bit more fuel. Is behind him a 21.3 from Benjamin Smith, but we got to think the tyres are also dropping away. Another 21.6 from Cubis, and we won't get a good time here because he would just be coming out of the pit from Rogers, but I'm sure he's only 27 seconds away from the lead, so that is it's doable, but you need to be really pushing. There's only 12 laps to go. We're on lap 29, and he'll need to push really hard to gain that time back up to Ian Ford as well, getting through a Bo Cubis and Benjamin Smith.
It's going to be hard yakka for Rogers, no doubt at all, but he's quick enough. We know the pace that he can bring. Confident all along that Benny Smith's been able to get the fuel done, and I've been relatively confident that the way that Ford was comfortably sitting behind Rogers in that draft, that he should be okay as well. But by saying that, I didn't think that Rogers was going to pit. I didn't think that Sutton was going to pit. Been proved wrong before, as Ford now on lap 29 goes around the last turn, this long fifth gear corner as he exits 29 onto lap 30 at 21.008.
Yeah, still running the similar times again, so he's just running consistent 21.5 from Benjamin Smith, just checking these times as Bo Cubis is coming down to turn 12 right now, coming across the start-finish line. He's going to run 21.3, so consistently again was Bo Cubis in the 21s. We know how good he is, two-time champion, but here comes Rod in a 21.1, so he didn't even gain on Ian Ford. He gained a little bit on the other two, but on fresher tyres, fresher boots, seems to be working out right now for Josh Rogers.
And even a 21 flat for Sam Sutton, so they would both be surprised with that, I would think. Maybe getting their tyres up to temperature. I would have thought in this track temperature, which is 33 degrees, that would have already happened. But what we're talking about, 27.5 seconds down, a lot of work for the TTL team to come back here.
Yeah, a lot of work that may only get them to Bo Cubis at that pace, because even Cubis was only a couple of tenths slower, and he needs more than a couple of tenths with around 10-11 laps to go to be able to gain the 8 odd seconds that he has to Cubis. So Rogers is definitely going to have to push a lot harder than that, and these guys they may be thinking may drop off towards them, but they've been running this consistent pace throughout the entire race, and they may not drop as far back as TTL are wishing at the moment.
Well, the reality is that Ian Ford, the 21.3 last lap, he can drop down to the low to mid 22s, and he'll still come out in front if the other guys are doing their 20 flats even. So Ford still has a little bit in the bank here. Last lap at 21.3. He does seem to be pushing unnecessarily hard at the moment. Lead out to 10.4 seconds, but that's of his ERA teammate. Looking over the shoulder, Bo Cubas, he's quite a bit off the back of Ben Smith. That's another 10 seconds, 27.7 seconds back from the lead. Josh Rogers, so it's spread out very, very evenly at the moment. So what have we got? Lap 31 or 40. We're 44 minutes into this long race. The long races this year in the V8 official series, this is just another example of how fuel savers can just give you that extra element. Love them.
Yeah, a little bit of an extra element has definitely spiced this one up, and I think TTL have spiced it up with bidding. I didn't think that was going to happen. I honestly think they may have been pretty safe, but they know more than we do. They definitely seen the numbers and thought they weren't going to make it. But if these guys are certainly running this pace, I think it would have been more of a not a risk to take it, because at the moment they're not gaining. Last lap Rogers was slower and Sam Sutton was actually the quickest out of the top 5, but he's even further back. So I think at the moment the strategy may have been a bit off. They may just be wishing that these guys start to cough somewhere on the final lap, but at the moment they need to pick up their pace. And just watching Rogers coming through turn 11 now, coming down into turn 12, like this right-hander leading onto the front straight, he's going to come across, and again it's only a 21.2. He actually was 2/10 slower. He's not got the pace at the moment to catch, let alone Ian Ford, let alone the others, and I don't think that was the right strategy from TTL.
Well, they might not have been able to do any other strategy. They might be committed and might not have had that potential to save that much fuel. They just don't look like they've got enough bullets in the gun at the moment, do they? So, they've actually dropping time, 27, 28 seconds now to the lead. So, their eyes forward. Their next goal is to try and see if they can get on top of Bo Cubas.
Yeah, that's right. Looking back here between Will Dodd and Cooper Murray, battle for P7. Cooper Murray with the fresher tyres. He was all sideways coming through turns 2 and 3. He managed to handle it, got it all together, wrap it all up, and he's now straight onto the back of Will Dodd. He's going to keep pushing here as he's coming through turn 5. And he's just going to maybe have a look going into turn 6. We have seen how good Cooper Murray is on the brakes. He's going to have a look. Is he going to throw it down the inside? Oh, he thought about it. He definitely did, but he sat behind him. Going to maybe line him up for the back straight, and he does that. Little bit of a lock break there from Will Dodd. And Cooper Murray actually ran a bit wider than I think he was wanting to there. So he lost a lot of ground. He may not even be able to have a look going down into the back straight. But behind him, you got Paul Garrell, who's on fresher tyres. He'll be wanting to maybe catch this bunch before the end, because if these two keep battling, he will certainly do that.
Yeah, they will, and the battle's gone through. There's just so many new drivers with teams in there. Jeff Gauci is going to... I'm not sure what his intentions are with the team. Will Dodd, we saw, has changed over. Cooper Murray's changed over. Paul Garrell's changed over. Brendan King's changed over. Matty Jones has changed over. So a lot of drivers at an early stage of the season here. We're only talking race 3, changing teams.
Yeah, definitely a lot of changes. With Cooper Murray got that position done on Will Dodd going into the little chicane 10A and 10B. He had the rears all locked, had it sideways, and managed to keep it all together and got the move done. So now that puts Will Dodd back into the firing line, and Paul Garrell, down for SDC. So move from KRF to SDC, the KSW painting Commodore. He's going to close up to that Dayco cast pretty quickly right now. And you may even be able to have another look going down into the chicane, but Will Dodd's definitely on a strategy of no pitting. I don't think I've actually seen him come in, and he hasn't. So that's all. Will Dodd was sideways, had the rears locked, and he managed to hold on to it, but he's going to be very vulnerable to Paul Garrell down this back straight, and Garrell would definitely get this job done.
What I'm looking out for is the time of Josh Rogers at 21.1. That's another gain on Bo Cubas, another half-second gain. This is where the battle's going to end up. It's, mind you, it's only 6.5 seconds. So there's a lot of work to be done. Expect the cars up the front who haven't pitted, their times will fall away more. Been super surprised at the speed of Ian Ford tonight. We know he's quick, but his qualifying was exceptional tonight. We're talking easy 0.4 of a second. He just loves his track. Did a fantastic job with the V8 Scops Premier Series last year. Magnificent battle with Madison down there at the end. Probably got shortchanged a little bit with the continual efforts of a car that would get in the way whilst being lapped. This probably may have even stopped Ford winning that race, but it's been a dominant position so far. And the ERA team, the motivation and the excitement within that team after the announcement today of getting MPMS Racing Simulators on board as a major sponsor for this team. There's so much good vibe in this team at the moment, and it's showing right at the moment. At the moment, Team 1-2, they're not at the finish line yet. TTL could have the last laugh as they go past two spluttering ERA cars on the last lap. We don't know.
Yeah, that's one thing. We don't even know what's going to happen with this one and how it's all going to play out. Yes, Ian Ford showing considerably good pace. Another 20.9, and looking back now at Josh Rogers, who only did a 21.1. So again, Rogers lost a couple of tenths on Ian Ford. Benjamin Smith at 21.3 and Bo Cubis running at 21.7. So Cubis has definitely started to drop off a little bit. Still running 21s, but he's now in the high 21s, just running that little bit of a slower pace, maybe saving a little bit more fuel. He will know that that Josh Rogers will be catching him, and he'll be wanting to make sure he has a little bit more in the left in the tank towards the end, so he can just start to just push that little bit harder and hold him off, because Sam Sutton will start to close up, who is actually really closing up on the back of Josh Rogers. Sam Sutton looks like he has had more pace than Rogers in this race, which is, like you're saying, Sam Sutton very experienced in this car, but I was expecting a bit more, especially when Rogers pitted, to have a bit more pace.
Yeah, exactly, but not every track suits every driver, and I'm not sure if I've seen Josh Rogers race on this track before, so this could be his first time. He's still only very, very new to this car. He's very, very new to the series. He's light years ahead of where he could be or should be. He's not could be, because he's already doing it. Like in comparison with guys who've been doing this at the same length of time, maybe bar Ethan Grigg-Galt, our 4-time champion. And Josh Rogers is a superstar, and he will only get better.
Yeah, that's right. He's only going to get better, and especially in the team he sort of found himself in with TTL, he will only get better with the strong and smart heads in that team, like Sam Sutton behind him, who's had a lot of experience in this car, and he's just going to be sitting there maybe coaching Rogers along to start to push a little bit, because they can, or there may be even some team orders, which I don't think will come into play. But if Sam Sutton catches Rogers, I wouldn't be surprised if they let Sutton by to maybe have an attack on Cubis, because Sam Sutton can easily bring Bo Cubis back to Josh Rogers and let him have another attack. But Ian Ford at 20.6 last lap, just had to look at that and go, wow, okay, so Ford is really pushing on now, 20.6, and coming through turns 11 and 12. We'll see what lap time he does this time by. But towards the end of this one, it's coming to start lap 37. He's done 20.5, so I think Ian Ford definitely saved enough, and he is starting to put the hammer down.
He's putting the foot on the throat. That's what he's doing here. It's not the hammer, it's his foot on the throat stuff. I tell you what, though, you wouldn't want to be making a mistake here. He's got so much potential. He can wipe off 3 seconds a lap, and he will still get the job done. He can wipe out 4 seconds a lap, and he will still win 13.7 seconds to his teammate behind him, Ben Smith. 24 seconds back to Bo Cubis. He can take a lot of time off, but right now he can just take it nice and easy if he wanted to. He doesn't need to be going this hard.
Yeah, that's one thing. Really may need to just put it down a little bit and settle. He does have that massive gap, and you can save so much fuel by just rolling out in the final couple of laps, when you can just be a bit more conservative and have that little bit of extra that you may need. But we don't know what's going on. Ford could have already got his magic number of 3 litres a lap to push as hard as he can at the end. And just having a look through the field, as a couple of these guys that pitted, they've displaced. David Baxter's now moved down to P9 at the moment, and actually Will Dodd has come in the pits, so a very late decision. That's what happens when you maybe not be able to make it. He's had to come in really late, not many laps to go, just chuck a little bit of fuel and get it home towards the end, and that may happen to these guys up front.
Closest battle right now is actually teammates Sam Sutton and Josh Rogers. The Commodore, you good thing in the Commodore, get rid of that stinking Ford Falcon. He's going to be able to get the job down deep under brakes. These guys, you know what, they've both had their pits. They can have a bit of fun now. A bit of a tag there between the teammates. So certainly no orders here between the two TTL cars. Hyperstimulator, get their money's worth here tonight with these two guys racing.
Yeah, they were on the limit there with Sam Sutton. The braking limit nearly pile drive the back of Josh Rogers. Was actually maybe a little bit, like you said, a little bit of contact, but they gathered it back up and got going. But Sutton, like I was saying, definitely had the pace now in these fresher tyres, and he's showing it now. He's all over the back of Josh Rogers coming through up through the S's now. He may be able to have another attack and just push on Rogers, but Sam Sutton definitely showing his experience over Rogers at the moment. He's definitely had that in his car, and he's going to keep pushing. And it looks like the car is just a little bit more settled under Sam Sutton. Got the pace, just dropped a little bit back that time on the exit, and he may not be able to have an attack. He'll just have to line himself up down the back straight to get it done.
Ian Ford's back right out of this now. He's actually got Todd Parks just behind him, so I think that message has got through. Just have a look at this lap time by Ian Ford. A 20.9. So just the 2 laps to go. Benny Smith's not going to threaten him at all. And Boo Cubis isn't going to threaten him. But this is where the battle is still with Sam Sutton. And again, deep under brakes. Josh Rogers, very, very strong there. He can always hold a good little consistent line there. He's got his braking point absolutely down pat. Ooh, just a little bit loose over the hill. The car can get so light there. We saw Ryan O'Sullivan get loose there, as well as Mitch McLeod causing the downfall of 2 other cars. So just the 2 laps to go. Sutton, look, a big dive into turn 1.
Yeah, this is definitely on for young and old here. We've got Sutton and Rogers going at it for TTL. It's Holden versus Ford battle, even though they're in the same car, different livery to an extent, still hyperstimulator on. They've just inverted the colours, so we've got the yellow and black, and then the black and yellow of Sam Sutton. And, oh, a little bit there. He's alright, he's just a little bit loose. He managed to hold on to it, and Sutton just sitting in behind him now. He's going to line him up again going down into that bottom chicane of 10A and 10B, but Rogers is so much stronger under brakes, like you're saying, Brenton, and if he keeps doing that, Sutton is going to run out of opportunities.
Yeah, he will, no doubt, but yeah, the draft is real, isn't it? And Sam just seems to get just that little bit better drive from the second right down there at the end, and he's got a good drive here. Again, you'd expect him to be able to make a move here.
Yeah, he's going to have a big look down the inside into turn 10A. He's going to get it done. Rogers was very late on the brakes, had the rears locked. He actually held it. Sutton going for the switchback. Wow, Rogers actually managed to hold onto that one, so Sutton wasn't able to get it done. He's all over the back of him, though, as they come across the line to start their final lap. Sutton may have a look going into turn 1. I think he will. He does. He's going to throw it down the inside into turn 1. He's going to get it done. Is he going to force Sutton? Rogers wide. He does a little bit and gets that position done. So Sutton up into P4, Rogers down to P5.
Must admit, I thought I was seeing triple there with Adam Zatinga coming out in the Evolution Racing car there. The skins look exactly the same. Having a look now at, we're back with Ian Ford. It's been a magnificent drive. He's going to bring this home end of lap 40. He hasn't had to back off his time at all. He is out to 14 seconds over Ben Smith and 26 seconds back, 31 seconds back to Rogers.
Yeah, so here he is, Ian Ford coming over the hill of turn 11, coming down into turn 12. Ian Ford is your winner for round 3 at Road Atlanta, the official V8 Superkart Series. Great drive from Ian Ford.
Sammy Sutton,
as we're looking back, Sutton and Rogers, it's on again. Sorry, Smith and Cubis, second and third for them, but this is on for P4 and 5 between the TTL teammates. Rogers going down the inside, coming into turn 10A. Sutton very late in the brakes. He may be able to hold it. He's done that. He's done it well, but Rogers on the switchback. He got a little bit squirrely coming over turn 11, and he's got it done as Rogers was fully sideways. So Sam Sutton will hold on to P4. He got that one done over his teammate Rogers, but wow, the demise of those two pitting, and they may have had to do it, but they lost a lot of time there. But good job from those two boys.
Yeah, good finish for those two, but that's an Evolution Racing Australia first, second. That hasn't happened since the days of Bo Cubis and Ian Ford were running around the Maverick welding car.
Gorsey out of pits.
Sorry?
Gorsey out of fuel, sorry, not out of pits, he's out of fuel. So I was like, he should have pitted, but he's out of fuel. He's just come across the line in P8 in front of David Baxter, so yeah, Gorsey out of fuel.
Yeah, geez, he did a good job, and he actually had a win in last night's race by not stopping, so he's probably playing with the bigger boys tonight, but fantastic effort by him there to get that car in the straight line, in the straight piece for Jeff Gowsey. He'll be happy with that car 7 and qualified 11th and finishing in 8th position, but a magnificent race, no doubt at all.
Yeah, great race that was, and wow, what a run to that was. The Fuel Savers definitely brought it up, and we'll get you, Brenton, to run through the results of round 3 at Road Atlanta.
Yep, no worries at all. Wow, that was an interesting race, wasn't it? 40 laps, fuel saving tactics come into play. It's a Maverick Welding Evolution Racing Australia first and second. Ian Ford got the job done, 13.1 seconds ahead of Ben Smith. Bo Cubis for SDC, 25.2 seconds back in third position. Sam Sutton, Josh Rogers, great battle they had throughout. Surprise, they had to pit, 32 seconds down. So, probably just, with Rogers, he probably just hasn't driven the tracker much. Cooper Murray in 6th position. Paul Gorell, welcome to SDC for him. Jeff Gauci running as a privateer. We think 8th, and he'll be happy with that result. Dave Baxter, Mario Vlasic will round out your top 10. Also staying on the lead lap, Brendan King in the in the Angry Birds Racing for his first race for that team. So yeah, a fantastic race by.
Yeah, it was an awesome race by everyone. That strategy definitely plays that little bit of a different card, and it was able to produce an amazing race today, and it's shown what a result then from Ian Ford to get that one done ahead of Benjamin Smith. And we'll go to our post-race interviews here. I think we'll get Benjamin Smith up here, so we'll move him up. Benjamin Smith for post-race interviews, P2 today. It was an interesting race. The fuel strategy was definitely out there, and you boys managed to get it done with you in 41-2.
Yeah, really happy with that. I had a plan to go in and make sure I saved enough fuel throughout the race that I could push at the end, in case there was a battle to be had. But unfortunately, there was no battles, and I guess it's good to bring home a clean Demonov Commodore in second.
Yeah, you definitely did that. We were sort of wondering what you were going to be doing. We knew you would have enough fuel towards the end of it. And seeing Sutton and Rogers pit sort of open the window up to you to just sit there in second and just conserve and just sort of run alone by yourself there.
Yeah, I guess at that point in time, I'd just been running by myself the whole race, so I didn't have any draft to help me out and save fuel. So, just consolidated second spot and made sure to keep it on the track, keep it in one piece, and happy with the result. Congrats to 40 on the win.
Yeah, it's good to see you up there, and it's good to see you back in the V8. And will we see you again next round? I think it's we're going to Sonoma, so everyone's had practice from the latest V8 Scop, so you've definitely had a lot of laps there. Will we see you next week?
Yeah, it'd be good to get back to Sonoma. I didn't mind lapping there. I thought it was great fun. But yeah, it depends on work commitments, so I guess we'll figure it out next week.
Oh, well, we'll hope to see you there, Smitty. It'll be good to have you back. And anyone you'd like to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, just a massive hello to MPMS Racing Simulators for coming on board with us. It's great to have a new sponsor, and they make some great quality products. And also thanks to Demidov, Maverick, and Auto Loan Center, the usual guys. It's great to have them on board as well.
Cheers for that, Smitty. So well done there on P2, as we will now move to Ian Ford, our race winner for round 3 at Road Atlanta. Well done, Mr. Ian Ford. That was a great drive there, and another one where you were just able to sit there, run your own pace, and get the job done with the fuel.
Yeah, certainly. It was quite an easy race. Kept everything under check for most of it. From the first second that I was running up the hill into turn 1 and everything like that, I was instantly fuel saving, so, I never had an idea in my mind that I was ever going to pit, so, it all paid off tonight, and it was a great 1-2 for the team.
Yeah, definitely a great 1-2 for the team, and just one of those things that shows that boys can get it done on the fuel. It was touch and go there. It was very interesting to see the pace, especially when Rogers and Sutton pitted it. Maybe may have threw a bit of a curveball to make you pit, but you definitely stayed out and held your ground and was able to get it done.
Yeah, certainly. That was quite interesting, actually. I was fuel saving pretty well in the early part of the race, and then I started gaining on Rogers, just before he pitted. And on the last lap before he pitted, I decided to push it out to as much fuel that I was actually physically able to burn and actually make it home on that number sort of thing. And, I got one attempt to overtake, and I thought, okay, if this doesn't pay off, I'll just fuel save again and drop back, keep on doing it until it works. And you know, it was also awesome to see him pit. That was quite nice. I didn't expect it at all.
Yeah, it was unexpected from all of us. So well done again, Ian Ford. Next week we move to Sonoma. Like we'll say in the Smitty before, we've all had the laps there, so we'll definitely see you next week. How do you think the car will go there?
Hopefully we can translate some of the pace we had tonight over onto the Sonoma car, but you never know. It's quite a bumpy track, and it didn't really play nicely last night in the Premier Series, so hopefully we can sort it out a bit better by next Monday. But other than that, I'd just love to give a shout out to the sponsors on the car. GTI came aboard a couple of weeks ago, and it's been awesome running their springs. They definitely work a treat. Maverick Welding for sponsoring the car. You know, it's always nice to see a yellow car leading a race, especially when it's the right one in front. And MPMS Racing Simulators have come aboard, and you know, it'll be great to catch up with them and share our experience, and hopefully move us forward in every other category as well.
Yeah, well done, Ian Ford. Great result there for round 3 at Road Atlanta. Now we move to Sam Sutton, the first one off the podium, P4 today, Sam. It wasn't the result you boys would have been looking for there at TTL, but a good battle there towards the end with your teammate Josh Rogers.
Yeah, it was a good battle with Josh at the end, but I guess that result kind of shows what happens when you essentially YOLO an official race. Josh and I both kind of rocked up the Savo at about 5:30. We decided to just make a setup and we weren't confident with saving fuel, so we bit the bullet and said if it's going to be cool, we're just going to go balls to the walls flat out. We didn't have the car pace over Ian, unfortunately, but we had it over the rest of the guys behind us. Just eventually didn't get the pace out of the car and it just went off. So that's what you get when you rock up, just kind of spur of the moment, do an official race. But it was good fun anyway, especially at the end there with Rogers.
Yeah, it was a good battle between you and Rogers, definitely going hell for leather towards the end. But you guys will definitely have the pace at Sonoma next week. You boys were definitely showing the pace in Scop, so it'll be interesting to see you boys go next week if you boys come and run.
I think you'll see a larger turnout from TTL maybe next week. Of course, we won't be YOLOing that race because we've already got everything squared away with regards to the setup. So yeah, we'll probably see Rogers and myself back. I don't know about any other boys for Sonoma.
Yeah, well, it'll be good to see you boys. A good result today. Not obviously the result you were looking for in P4 and 5 with Rogers, but anyone you'd like to thank before we let you go?
Yes, big thanks to Hyperstimulator, main sponsor, of course, for myself and Rogers. Thanks for coming on board in the last month or so, and TTL as well. Great effort, great team, so loving it there so far.
Yeah, well done, Sutton. We've just had Bo Cubis, our runner, third place on the podium today. Bo Cubis, you were very well done there. Just being very conservative and was able to get the job done, didn't have to do the fuel stop, and got a good result there in P3.
Yeah, it wasn't bad for about 15 minutes practice and straight into it.
Yeah,
I love
definitely.
it. I love the official series.
Yeah, just jumping in last minute, getting it done, 2-time champion. So it's always good to have you back. It's been a long hiatus before we've had you come back, and definitely shown the pace you've had. But next week, Sonoma, you were very good on the weekend at V8 Scop, so maybe another round you may come and have some fun on Monday night.
Yeah, I'd like to get in on the Monday night a little bit more often. Now that daylight savings is done and dusted, I will be able to. So I start work pretty early, so getting on the track about an hour earlier helps a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can keep and see you for the rest of this season. Definitely the daylight savings does play a bit of a card there when it comes to the timing, especially with these longer races. So it'll be good to see you come in. And anyone you'd like to thank, Cubis, before we let you go?
No one at all.
Well, there it is, Bo Cubis, 2-time champion, knows how to have an interview, does it all well. So that's it. I think that wraps us all up for today at Road Atlanta for round 3 of the official V8 Supercar Championship Series. That was director Hugo Louise doing all the camera work today, as well as joining me in the commentary box, Benjamin O'Brien. Today it was Jake Blackwell here, and well done, and we hope to see you all next week at Sonoma.
So,